Epic has expanded its Unreal Engine toolkit with the undisclosed acquisition of the real-time visualization solution Twinmotion. To market a deal, Epic has announced its new version of Twinmotion will be absolutely free to download and use for all customers until November 2019. Anyone who downloads Twinmotion before the promotion ends will be allowed to keep using it forever without having to pay royalties, which is pretty good news for devs interested in using the tool. In case you are not familiar with Twinmotion, the software allows 3D models to be tweaked in real time, and also lets creators add weather effects on the fly edit their projects in VR. Epic's updated version will also offer improved performance, enhanced direct sync with Revit on Docker Cut, and new global illumination glow effects. All users will also be able to access a shared library for multi-user collaboration, a feature that was previously only available in Twinmotion Team. Twinmotion's highly intuitive interface enables you to assign preview materials, set up lighting, and even choose the season and the weather with just a few clicks. Read the post on the Unreal Engine blog. Populate your scene from a library of ridiculous assets, including animated characters and trees whose foliage blows in the wind. With as few as 2 clicks, you can create paths of walking people or moving cars, and then vary their appearance to suit your scene. For more information on how the deal and subsequent change might affect you, head on over to the Unreal Engine website to check out the full fact. DD 2019 is now behind us, but like many developers who, via San Francisco, are at least the most honest, we are still processing some of the lessons we picked up from the many great talks at this year's show. Inspired by blogger Chris Zakowski, we at Gamasutra have reached into our own camera phones and grabbed the slides that left a specific impression on us. Whether you were at DD this year and missed these talks, or could not attend for various reasons, we hope our takeaways help you with your own game development process. Chris Graft. To kick things off, here's 2 slides from Editor-in-Chief Chris Graft's phone that managed to survive being in constant proximity to Gracie Carl's player, Foot Graft, in his classic game Post-Mortem on Sega's Panzer Dragoon, Panzer Dragoons V, and Panzer Dragoon Saga. The actor and series creator Yukio Futatsuki, of that game's studio grounding, was candid about the internal pressure at Sega to make Saturn games that could compete visually with the original PlayStation. Sega's Saturn had superior 2D capabilities compared to PlayStation, but PlayStation had Saturn beat in terms of 3D graphics. For 3D games like Panzer Dragoon, Saturn developers had to implement rendering tricks that took advantage of the Saturn's 2D strengths. The pressure brought upon by intense focus on PlayStation as a competitor still has not left Futatsuki, even to this day. I have lingering trauma about this anytime someone mentions the original PlayStation. Those PlayStation Classic commercials made me real mad, he said. So, do not mention the original PlayStation around Futatsuki. Wrecked in the session, interactive story without challenge mechanics, the design of FIREWATCH, Campo Santos Chris Ramo outlined practical methods to make a narrative-focused game believable, reactive to player actions, and flexible in terms of game design tools. Ramo, incidentally, a Gamasutra alum, cited a popular game dev called That's, often attributed to Civilization creator Sid Meier. A game is a series of interesting decisions. Ramo put his own spin on that when it comes to games like FIREWATCH. A good interactive narrative is a series of interesting outcomes. This stance is reflected in the way that Firewatch's narrative is incredibly reactive to player choices, not just through textual choices, but also to player actions. So many of these transparent decisions that players make were taken into account by Firewatch's writers and designers, who made sure even the smallest decisions had outcomes that would surprise and delight players. Alex Worrell, contributing editor Alex Worrell, had a lot of favorite slides, including an image of a children's slide emerging from the rear of an elephant sculpture. We will not be printing that one. Worrell, this slide. From Video Game History Foundation founder Frank C. followed this talk on. It's still emulation. Saying video game history before it's too late reminds us how important it is to have people who are working to preserve video game history. While a well-designed game can teach a player how to play, it takes an expert to teach you why the game was played and what that experience was like. Worrell, this slide. From the BD 2019 talk on a fashion in most games sucks, and why you should care, by Kate Fox Games. Victoria Chan illustrates the three axes along which the fashion in your games communicates meaning to players. Worrell, veteran indie deck Jason Rohrer, threw up this slide during his talk on 2014 versus 2018, the shape of financial success, before and after the indie apocalypse. To reinforce one bit of advice, if you are worried about making a great game that nobody will buy, look at your own play history, and try to create the sort of game you actually play for long periods, rather than the kinds of games you keep telling yourself you do like to play. Worrell, in his BD 2019 talk on making games that stand out and survive, Slime Rancher director Nick Popovich encouraged devs to think of their games in terms of animated GIFs. If someone can get your game in a single GIF, use Popovich, then you have eliminated a lot of the friction that might keep them from buying a copy. Worrell, in this other two slides, second slide below, from Popovich's talk, devs are encouraged to create a place or mode that feels like home, in order to give players a comfortable, low-stress place to hang out, a return to without much friction. This encourages them to keep playing your game, even after long periods away, which in turn raises the odds that they will buy some DLC, or inspire a friend to buy a copy as well. Alyssa McAloon. Alyssa only had one favorite slide, but in a very on-brand fashion for her. It was about Hitman. McAloon. It's a slide that probably does not make much sense without a good helping of context, but still my favorite of the show. During Matt Potenthan Anderson's talk on applying social anthropology principles to level design, she shared this color-coded map. It's a map of what many consider Hitman 2016 as very best level, pins, but overlaid with color to define the 6 different kinds of public and private spaces that I found throughout Hitman's levels. You will have to check out my story on the top, on my Twitter thread, on what I could not fit into my story on the top, for a full rundown. But in short, those different kinds of spaces each communicate a lot of information to players about their purpose and potential limitations, just through knowledge most have from everyday life. This was not a consideration when IO Interactive was making these levels. However, at least not consciously, Anderson was only an intern at the time and applied these terms and colors to the map as a way for her to better understand the team's level design practices and apply terminology to something that was, at the time, new to her. As an end result, Hitman's level design is more readable to a newcomer, and experienced designers have a better understanding of how spaces function and interact. This slide is a neat example of what fresh eyes bring to a project, and given that these terms carried on into the development of Hitman 2, an example of how new perspectives and sometimes even concepts from outside of game dev can lead to more informed design decisions. Brian Francis. Find my own favorite slides. See non-Gamasutra speedy live tweeting. I pulled a few from talks that went outside my personal purview about narrative game design. DD is a great opportunity for devs of different backgrounds to get a crash course in how their colleagues make games, and I thought it was important to expand my writer-oriented brain into the worlds of business, AI, and animation. Francis. First, here's this slide from Sophie Brennan's talk on the animation of Otto Octavius from Marvel's Spider-Man. Octavius comes off as an effortless creation when you are playing Insomniac's superhero game, but watching Brennan break down how atypical his rig was proved to be an incredible experience at DD. Brennan's slide here contrasts to a prior slide that showed the results of creating an individual rig for each of Octavius' tentacles. She followed up by breaking down a lot of the pseudocode and mathematic principles that helped make drive the characters' unusual limbs.